A very good morning, dear students. I'm sure you're feeling very energetic after enjoying your summer break. Even I feel the same. But yes, of course, again we are on the same track where we have to start off with our learning. So what am I going to teach you today? As you can see on the board, we are going to do literature chapter, A Gift of Chappals. Now you can see on the board that I have made these chappals for you, and I have made a cat. Now why have I made a cat? That must be a surprise element, because obviously you can associate this pair of slippers with the name of the lesson, but you have no idea why I have drawn a cat as well. So this is a secret and we will explore it as we read the lesson. Now these two elements that you see on the board are very important in this particular story, because they both teach us that we feel more happy when we give something rather than when we take something from others. So we should learn to give, we should learn to share. This is the important learning that we derive from this lesson. So I'll be teaching you this lesson along with the help of the animation of the lesson, so that you can quickly grasp what the story says, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's move ahead.
A Gift of Chappals by Vasanta Surya. A smiling Rukmani threw open the door. Ravi and Meena rushed out, and Ravi pulled Mridu into the house. "Wait, let me take off my slippers," protested Mridu. She set them out neatly near a pair of large black ones. Those were grey, actually, with dust. You could see the clear mark of every toe on the front part of each slipper. The marks for the two big toes were long and scrawny. Mridu didn't have much time to wonder about whose slippers they were, because Ravi dragged her to the backyard behind a thick bitterberry bush. There, inside a torn football lined with sacking and filled with sand, lay a very small kitten, lapping up milk from a coconut half shell. "We found him outside the gate this morning. He was mewing and mewing, poor thing," said Meena. "It's a secret. Amma says Pati will leave for our Paddu Mama's house if she knows we have a cat. People are always telling us to be kind to animals, but when we are, they scream." "Oh, don't bring that dirty creature here," said Ravi. "Do you know how hard it is just to get a little milk from the kitchen? Pati saw me with a glass in my hand just now. I told her I'm very hungry, I want to drink it. But the way she looked at me, I had to drink most of it to throw her off the scent. Then she wanted the tumbler back. Pati, I'll wash it myself. Why should I put you to trouble?" I told her. I had to run and pour the milk into this coconut shell, and then run back and wash the tumbler and put it back before she got really suspicious. Now we have to think of some other way to feed Mahindran. Mahindran? This little kitty's name is Mahindran. Mridu was impressed. It was a real name, not just a cute kitty cat name. Actually, his full name is Mahendra Varma Pallava Poonai. MP Poonai for short, if you like. He's a fine breed of cat. Just look at his fur, like a lion's mane. And you know what the emblem of the ancient Pallava kings was, don't you? He looked expectantly at Mridu. Mridu giggled. "Think I'm joking? Well, just wait. I'll show you sometime. It's clear you don't know a thing about history. Haven't been to Mahabalipuram, have you?" he said mysteriously. "Well, when our class went to Mahabalipuram, I saw a statue of his Thatas, etc., etc. Fact is, Mahindran here is descended from that very same ancient cat. a close relative, scientifically speaking, of none other than the lion, the Pallava lion, emblem of the Pallava dynasty. Ravi went on, walking around the bitterberry bush, waving a twig up and down, his eyes sparkling. This cat is a descendant of none other than the Mahabalipuram Rishi cat. And if I may just remind you, they worshipped cats in ancient Egypt. How he loved the sound of his own voice! Meena and Ridu exchanged looks. What does that have to do with anything? Ridu demanded. Huh? I'm telling you, this cat is descended from the Egyptian cat god. No, goddess. Bastet. Yeah, that's it. So? Well, one of the descendants of that cat goddess was a stowaway in one of the Pallava ships. And his descendant was the Mahabalipuram Rishi cat, whose descendant is... Ravi flourished his twig at Mahendran. MP Poonai here. Whoopee! He shrieked, very pleased with himself. Mahendran looked up, alarmed. He had just been sharpening his claws on the edge of the coconut shell. But worse than Ravi's awful whoopee was a creak from the window. What a weird sound. If Mridu was startled, MP Poonai was frightened out of his wits. Hair standing on end, he bounced up and scurried towards a bamboo tray of red chilies that had been set out to dry. Trying to hide beneath it, he tipped a few chilies over himself. Meow! He howled miserably. The creaking went on and on. What's that noise? Said Mridu. That's Lalli learning to play the violin, grunted Ravi. She'll never learn a thing. The music master just goes on playing like a train, whizzing on and on, while Lalli's all the time derailing, going completely off track. Mridu crept up to the window. Lalli was sitting a little distance away, awkwardly holding her violin and bowstring, her elbows jutting out and her eyes glazed with concentration. In front of her, with most of his back to the window, was the bony figure of the music master. He had a mostly bald head, with a fringe of oiled black hair falling around his ears and an old-fashioned tuft. A gold chain gleamed around his leathery neck, and a diamond ring glittered on his hand as it glided up and down the stem of the violin. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold-bordered Veshti edge, and he was beating time on the floor with the scrawny big toe. He played a few notes. Lalli stumbled behind him on her violin, which looked quite helpless and unhappy in her hands. What a difference! The music master's notes seemed to float up and settle perfectly into the invisible tracks of the melody. It was like the wheels of a train, fitting smoothly into the rails and whizzing along, as Ravi said. Ridu stared at that huge beringed hand, moving effortlessly up the violin stem, making lovely music. Squawk! There was Lalli derailing again. Amma! Came a wail from the gate. Amma, oh! Ravi, send that beggar away, cried his mother from the back veranda, where she was chatting with Tapi. He has been coming here every day for the past week, and it's time he found another house to beg from, Pati explained to Tapi. Ridu and Meena followed Ravi out. The beggar was already in the garden, making himself quite at home. He had spread his upper cloth under the neem tree and was leaning against its trunk, apparently prepared to take a little snooze while he waited for the arms to appear. "Go away," said Ravi sternly. "My party says it's time you found another house to beg from." The beggar opened his eyes very wide and gazed at each of the children one by one. "The ladies of this house," he said at last in a voice choked with feeling, "are very kind souls. I have kept my body and soul together on their generosity for a whole week. I cannot believe that they would turn me away." He raised his voice. "Amma! Amma! Oh!" Sad his wail might be, but it certainly wasn't feeble. It began in a deep, strong rumble somewhere in his withered belly and came booming out of his mouth with its few remaining teeth stained brown with beetle chewing. "Ravi, tell him there's nothing left in the kitchen," called Rukmani. "And he's not to come again. Tell him that." She sounded fed up. Ravi didn't have to repeat it all to the beggar. What his mother said had been easy for them all to hear, there under the neem tree. The beggar sat up and sighed. I'll go, he said wearily. "Only let me have a rest here under this tree. The sun is so hot. The tar has melted on the road. My feet are already blistered." He stretched out his feet to show large, pink, peeling blisters on the soles of his bare feet. "I suppose he doesn't have the money to buy chappals," Ridu whispered to Meena and Ravi. "Have you got an old pair in the house somewhere?" "I don't know," said Ravi. "Mine are too small to fit his feet, or I'd have given them to him." And his feet were larger than Ridu's and Meena's. The beggar was shaking out his upper cloth and tightening his dhoti. He raised his eyes and looked fearfully at the road, gleaming in the afternoon heat. "He needs something on his feet," Meena said, her big eyes filling. "It's not fair." "Shh," said Ravi. "I'm thinking about it. Blubbering it's not fair isn't going to help. In 2 minutes he'll be frying his feet on that road. What he needs is a pair of chappals." "So where do we get them?" "Come, let's search the house." He pushed Mridu and Meena into the house. Just as she stepped into the veranda, Mridu's eyes fell on the odd-looking chappals she had noticed when she arrived. "Ravi," she whispered to him, "whose are those?" Ravi turned and glanced at the shabby-looking but sturdy old slippers. He beamed and nodded. "These are just the right size," he said, picking them up. Ridu and Meena followed him nervously back into the garden. "Here," said Ravi to the beggar, dropping the slippers in front of the old man. "Wear these and don't come back." The beggar stared at the slippers, hurriedly flung his towel over his shoulder, pushed his feet into them and left, muttering a blessing to the children. In a minute, he had vanished around the corner of the street. The music master came out of the house and took an unappreciative look at the three of them sitting quietly under the tree, playing marbles. Then he searched for his chappals in the veranda where he had put them. "Lalli," he called after a few moments. She hurried up to him. "Have you seen my chappals, my dear? I remember having kept them here." Ravi, Mridu and Meena silently watched Lalli and the music master search every corner of the veranda. He scurried around, looking over the railing and crouching near the flower pots to look between them. "Brand new they were. I went all the way to Mount Road to buy them," he went on saying. "They cost a whole month's fees, do you know?" Soon Lalli went in to tell her mother. Rukmani appeared looking harassed, with Pati following her. Where could they be? It's really quite upsetting to think someone might have stolen them. So many vendors come to the door, worried Pati. Rukmani caught sight of Ravi, Mridu and Meena sitting under the tree. "Have you children?" she began, and then seeing they were curiously quiet, went on more slowly. Seen anyone lurking around the veranda? A sharp V-shaped line had formed between her eyebrows. Another straight, tighter one appeared in place of her usually soft, pleasant mouth. Rukmani was angry, thought Mridu with a shiver. She wouldn't be so upset if she knew about the poor beggar with sores on his feet, she tried to tell herself. Taking a deep breath, she cried, "Rukmani, there was a beggar here. Poor thing, he had such boils on his feet." "So?" said Rukmani grimly, turning to Ravi. "You gave the music master's chappals to that old beggar who turns up here?" "Children these days," groaned Pati. "Amma, didn't you tell me about Karna who gave away everything he had, even his gold earrings? He was so kind and generous." "Silly," snapped Rukmani. "Karna didn't give away other people's things, he only gave away his own." "But my chappals wouldn't have fitted the beggar's feet." Ravi rushed brashly on. "And Amma, if they did fit, would you really not have minded?" "Ravi," said Rukmani, very angry now, "go inside this minute." She hurried indoors and brought out Gopu Mama's hardly worn new chappals. "These should fit you, sir. Please put them on." "I'm so sorry. My son has been very naughty." The music master's eyes lit up. He put them on, trying not to look too happy. "Well, I suppose these would have to do. These days children have no respect for elders. What to do? A Hanuman incarnate. Only Rama can save such a naughty fellow." Rukmani's eyes flashed. She didn't seem to like Ravi being called a monkey, even a holy monkey. She stood stiff and straight by the front door. It was clear she wanted him to leave quickly. When he had clattered off in his new chappals, she said, "Mridu, come in and have some tiffin. Honestly, how do you children think of such things? Thank God your Gopu Mama doesn't wear his chappals to work." As she walked towards the kitchen with Mridu and Meena, she suddenly began to laugh. "But he's always in such a hurry to throw off his shoes and socks and get into his chappals as soon as he comes home. What's your mama going to say this evening when I tell him I gave his chappals to the music master?"
After seeing the animation, I'm sure the story is quite clear to you already. But let's get into further details about the story. So you already noticed in the animation that how does the story begin? It begins with the entry of Rukmani, the first character, who is opening the door. And who is coming along with her? It is Meena and Ravi that is coming along. And quickly what are they doing? They are just pulling their friend inside, that is Mridu. And what does Mridu notice? She notices that the place where she has taken out her slippers, there some old slippers are lying down. And anyone who owns that slipper must be having a heavy foot, because all his toes and all his fingerprints are there on the slipper, and it shows that these slippers have been worn for a long time. And Mridu is just screaming that please let me just quickly take off my slippers and then I'll come inside. And where does Ravi guide Mridu to? Now Ravi is taking Mridu to a place where he has secretly kept a kitten. And what has he named him? He has named him Mahendran. And this is not just any cute kitty name. It is a very royal name. And in order to show the importance of this particular pet, what is Ravi saying to Mridu? He says that this particular cat, it belongs to a very royal family. And how does he prove it? He says that the name of Mahendra is Mahendran Pallav Punai, and it belongs to the Pallava dynasty. And then he talks about Mahabalipuram, which he had visited, and then he also shares the fact that the kings of Pallava had kept lion as their emblem. And as we know that cats are almost associated with the family of the tiger or the lion, so he says that if you look at the mane of this kitten, you find how royal it is. And he says that probably the goddess cat had just hidden into one of the sheep of Pallava, and then after hiding out there, it traveled to Mahabalipuram, where the Rishi cat was born. And who is Mahendran? Mahendran is the descendant of that Rishi cat. So all these stories which he is cooking, who is finding it very funny? Even Meena is finding it very funny, and Mridu is also finding it very funny, and they both are giggling away to all the facts which Ravi is sharing. But what do we come to know about all these things being blabbered by Ravi? We come to know that he wants to just show how special his new pet is, how important it is for him, and it is very, very royal. After that, Ravi starts narrating an incident that happened in the morning. He says that today he was just trying to get some milk to feed the cat. And what happened? His grandmother, in Tamil we called grandmother as Pati. So he says, my Pati had noticed me when I was trying to fetch a tumbler of milk for the cat. And I had to make an excuse that I am feeling very hungry. That's the reason I have this tumbler in my hand. But the grandmother did not seem to be convinced. So what did she do? She stood out there. And what had to do? Ravi had to stand there, and he starts drinking the milk so that he can convince his grandmom that he's actually very hungry. And just little bit of milk was left, and the grandmother is asking Ravi, why don't you give me your tumbler so that I can just wash it for you? So Ravi is making an excuse. No mom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it myself. And then when he says when grandmother is not around, he quickly runs to the garden, and in a coconut shell he pours the remaining milk for the cat. And that is the reason how this cat is being able to drink milk. Ravi has a question in his mind that our elders teach us to be kind to animals, but when we are kind to them, why our elders are not happy? Why do they say these things that these small pets are going to make the house dirty? And he fails to, understand their perspective. He even shares the fact that Rukumani, that is his mother, has said that if grandmother ever came to know that there is a cat in the house, she is definitely run away to the maternal uncle Mr. Padu's house. So this is what is going to happen. Now all these discussions were going about the cat when suddenly there is a noise, and the noise was so horrible that even the cat gets scared. The small little kitten gets scared, and where does it run? It runs away to a place where there were red chilies kept on the bamboo. So it tries to hide beneath those chilies. And then all these people, Ravi, Meena, Mridu, they just try to find out from where the noise has come. And then they notice, when they look inside the window, they see that it is Lali, and she is having her music class. Which instrument does she learn? She learns to play a violin. And they notice that her teacher is sitting right in front of her. And how is the teacher to look at? He is quite healthy. He has his head, little bit hair are there on the sides, and then he has a tuft on his back. He is wearing a gold chain in his neck, and he holds the violin, and when he plays the music is quite very soothing, and it seems to be very, very effortless. But whenever Lali is trying to copy, she always makes that screeching sound, and it doesn't sound good at all. So now what they are saying, they talk amongst themselves and they make fun, and they say it's impossible that Lali can ever learn to play the violin as good as the way her teacher is playing. Suddenly then they notice another thing, that there is someone at the door and who is calling out, Amma. Amma. And who is it? It is a small little poor beggar. And why the beggar has come? Now this beggar has cultivated the habit of coming every day. See, sometimes what happens, beggar come and we don't see the same person begging again ever. But sometimes what happens, we notice that in a particular lane people are quite helpful. The beggar starts getting food or whatever help he gets from the other people. So what does he starts doing? He starts visiting that particular place again and again and again. So same thing was happening with this beggar also. So Rukumani, she says, tell this beggar to go away and find some another house. For 1 whole week he has been coming to us. Then what does Ravi do? Ravi, Meena and Mridu, they just go out and they see the beggar. The beggar has also heard what Rukmani is saying. So the beggar sits down under the neem tree. And then what is happening? He is saying, okay fine, you don't want to offer me anything. At least it is so sunny. Can I sit out here for some while? Now we all know that, the way the children were taking care of this poor little kitten, I am sure they feel very sad about this beggar also. So they are just allowing that, okay fine, you can sit out here and you can just rest. In the meanwhile, what happens, they get into the conversation and they come to know that this particular beggar's, his legs, his feet particularly are blistered. And why are they blistered? Because he's not having any slipper to wear. He's not having any chappals to wear. And he has blistered his feet. And the heat of the sun is so much that even the tar on the road has started melting. So now what are they thinking? They are thinking that why not find a pair of slippers to help this poor beggar if there is nothing to feed him. So now what these children do? They start running here and there and they just try to figure out if there is an extra pair of chappals. But they are not able to find any. Then suddenly Mridu remembers, okay, I saw 1 pair of slippers. That was quite old. Why not give it to the beggar? So what do these kids do? They simply donate these slippers to the beggar. And to whom does this slipper belong? They actually belong to the music teacher. Now as soon as the class is over, the music teacher comes out and he's again looking for his slippers because even he has to go out and nobody is able to trace the slippers. So now what is happening? Everyone in the house starts searching. Every place in the house is being searched to find out where are the slippers of the master. And the master is so very smart. He says, oh my slippers, they were so brand new and I have walked so far to get them, He's showing how important and new his slippers were. Whereas you will notice that the slippers were actually in a pathetic condition. Just that it has been able to help the beggar, but otherwise the slippers were really pathetic. Now what is happening? Everyone in the house starts searching. Rukmani has a doubt that of course these kids are up to something and they have done it. They have probably given it to the beggar. She doubts it. But yes, she does not announce it in front of everyone. So what is she doing? She looks with an angry, scowl on her face with the children and then she guesses, okay, these are the culprits. Now what Mridu is thinking, Mridu thinks if I am able to let her know that the poor little beggar had his feet all blistered because of the heat, then probably she might not get angry. And what does she do? She just shares the fact. The poor beggar had blistered his leg, And then she says, Rukumani says, so what did you do? But they do not disclose their little secret. Now Rukmani, being tired of searching the slippers for the musician, she knows it well. She needs to give him something else. So she goes inside and she gets Gopu uncle's slippers for the master. Now this music teacher, he looks very happy to see the new slippers because those slippers were hardly worn. So in a way, it is a good lottery for the teacher. But now the teacher is so smart, by facial expression, he doesn't allow others to know how glad he is at heart. And what is he doing? He shows, okay fine, I'll adjust myself, I'm going to wear these slippers but of course mine were more better than this. After that, what is he doing? He quickly wears those slippers and he goes away. Then everyone in the house is conversing. What about Gopu uncle? What is he going to do now? So the mother says he generally wears shoes and socks. He won't require it. And what the children are adding? They are adding that as soon as uncle comes at home, he is feeling so warm, so uneasy. He quickly comes and takes off his shoes and he searches to wear his slippers. So now this is a fact that we are going to see what is going to happen to Gopu uncle. So this was all about the story, a gift of chappals. The gift of chappals given by the children is a great gift for the beggar because to him it meant a lot. His legs, his feet were bitterly, they were blistered. For him it was a big savior thing. And the good deed the students, the children did by saving this cat and by feeding it and then keeping it with so much of love, giving it with so much of importance was really great. So we learn from this lesson that sometimes it is important to follow what people preach, because many people lecture you about taking care of animals, many people lecture you about helping others, but when they have the opportunity to do that, they just stay back. They just don't come forward to help. So it is important to help. But yes, of course, you don't have to donate things of others. Ideally, it should be your own things that you are helping out with. And this is exactly what Rukmani says to Ravi when he says, you have taught me that Karan, the warrior in Mahabharata, he even gave away his golden tooth. So Rukmani replies, he gave away his own tooth. He did not donate things of others. But yes, of course, dear children, helpfulness is really important and a very good quality we should imbibe. So that's all about the story, a good gift of chappals. I'm sure you have understood it and enjoyed it as well. Good day, take care, bye-bye.